Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is still freezing cold here in Georgia. I think the cows are even cold. But today I wanted to do a vehicle tour, kind of a show and tell of a vehicle that is very important to me. So let's roll the intro and we'll be right back. Alright, so after the intro, if you are into motorcycles, cars, fun projects, dad stuff, then go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. And if you notice in the intro that green Ford truck that I was doing donuts in and smoking the tires, that is actually my father's truck. And we are going to do a tour of that truck today. And I'll give you a little bit of explanation on what exactly I did to it. And now that we have it up on the lift, we can walk under it and go over everything in detail. I've had a lot of people ask me about it. So to give you a background on that truck before we get to the shop, it is my father's. He bought it. He bought all the parts. You know, it's kind of one of those things he's always talked about, buying an old pickup truck and fixing it up. So he brought it over one day and was like, hey, can you fix the steering for me? You know, it's kind of hard to steer and just keep on the road. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll look at it. Next thing you know, we ordered a complete front suspension kit, complete rear kit, new motor, all that stuff. And so, you know, I put some time. It took me about maybe 4 months, but I pretty much cab off, you know, completely cut everything off the frame, motor mounts, everything. We went back with the original Ford 302 with a Ford AOD overdrive transmission, new suspension, everything. And so it was kind of cool to be able to hand those keys to him, say, here's your truck. You know, I still have a couple things I got to do to it, and it breaks every now and then, so I kind of have it some of the times, you know, to be able to drive it, enjoy it, and also work on it and keep it tweaked out. So let's get into the shop and do a little tour of his old truck. Alright guys, here she is, OG Papa Truck. It is a 1947 Ford pickup truck. My dad bought it about 2 years ago. Like I said, the only thing that was done to this truck when he bought it was the paint job, and then the 350 Chevrolet motor someone put in and pretty much bubble gum glued it to the frame rails. So I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with how that usually works out. But the color is original. This truck rolled off the factory floor with this green and two-tone tan. And this green is a pretty close copy of the original color. Now what we did to it, if you take the whole body off the truck, which is almost stock besides the paint, like I said, the frame was completely boxed in. All the suspension was stripped off. All the original tabs, frame brackets, everything was taken off. New axle, 4-link on the rear, triangulated 4-link with coilovers, boxed in all the way to the front, new transmission, cross member, new transmission, new motor, complete new tubular front end, coilover, suspension on the front, and then new tires and wheels, everything. And then the cab was put down back on top of the frame. And a couple things were done to the interior, like a custom steering column I made for it, for the new power steering. But other than that, just some electrical stuff. Other than that, the cab is almost all stock. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pop the hood. We'll show you the motor, what we chose, what we did with it, and then we'll go in the cab. I'll show you that. And then we'll get to the best part and the part I'm most proud about. And, you know, kind of want to brag a little bit on this video because this is a project, probably one of my biggest ones, you know, as far as, you know, fabrication in the automotive world so far. We'll raise it up and I'll show you guys the frame and everything underneath this truck that makes it so badass in my mind and that I'm really proud of. So let's start with the engine. And the motor we went with was a crate Ford 302. Yeah, we weren't looking for a huge motor. We were looking for something that ran good. So this motor has run good so far, and for this little tiny truck, it's been plenty of power. Please don't mind the rusted brake master cylinder. That's one of those little things that I told you I still have to do. So I still got to paint this bad boy. But other than that, it's pretty much stock. We replaced the air cleaner aftermarket, and we also did the aftermarket 3-row aluminum radiator, which holds this thing pretty cool in the summer. It still has the heat on it, as you can see right here, so it does have the heat in the blower. We did add power steering, so as you can see right down there, we have the GM power steering and that bracket adapter for this Ford motor. So other than the power steering rack, the under the hood, besides the wiring, is pretty much all stock. So there she is. Alright, so here's the interior. As far as the cab goes, I did replace this glass in the windows because they were so scratched up. So I did replace that, and as you can see, we have the aftermarket steering wheel. So the column was made, and then I just got this universal column mount for the truck floor, and then this universal hanger for the top up here. Other than that, I added an RPM gauge, and then the dash is all stock except for a few of these aftermarket gauges in the middle, and those are just oil pressure, water temperature, battery, some of the important ones. And then we have the cable gas pedal, and then also the brake pedal. I made the brake pedal as well. We had the bump shifter that was put in there. That's pretty nice. It's a B&M shifter, so it works pretty good. Key switch, and it's just a off on start. Mirror, everything else is pretty stock. He wants to redo this seat eventually, maybe with some like brown leather, something to kind of match the floor since it has the tan thing going on. All right, now for the most exciting part, and time to brag a little bit. All right, guys, so we under. Now, before all you keyboard warriors go crazy, I know there's a lot of leaks under here. It needs to be washed. There's a few training leaks, power steering pump leak. I know there's leaks, and I know it's dirty. Now, keep in mind, this truck is 100% drivable. I drive it all the time. I drove it for 2 months as my primary vehicle. I know the brake rotors are rusty. It's been parked for 2 months on this lift, and when it was parked, it was raining. So I got you down below. I got you. First thing we will start with is the front suspension, and we'll work our way from the front to the back. This truck is a 1947. If you're familiar with the Ford trucks, this was the last year of the narrow frame. So 48 and up, the frame rails are wider, which opens your whole world to all new suspension options. And 47, it was very narrow, and they're not very popular because of that reason, because the aftermarket suspension options are so limited. This front end was from Speedway, I believe, and it is a whole universal unit, so this front end isn't really made particular for this truck. It is actually universal, and if your cross member right here kind of fits in between your frame rails, then you can use it. So it is a tubular A-arm, coil over, shock, spindle, disc brake setup is what we went with. So you pretty much have to just go by their measurements and weld it in, and depending on your ride height is kind of where you set it and all that stuff. Now you do have to box the frame. So that is the front setup, and I also added a sway bar to the front, and I believe it is a 1-inch sway bar, which makes this thing very tight in the turns, and it is like a train on rails. All right, so up front we're using QAI shocks, coilover shocks. They're fully adjustable ride height and also fully adjustable dampening. I don't know if you can see this little nipple right here. You can twist and adjust that. It is spindles with the 2-piston brake caliper on the front. All right, so here's a good shot at the suspension setup kind of from a distance. You can see the cross member right here that you weld to your boxed in frame. That houses your mount for your lower control arm, which houses your mount for your coilover shock. And then this top hat right here gets welded to the top side of the frame. and that actually has your bolts and your mount for your upper control arm. Hooks up to your spindle right here. So these two control arms are moving, and then this top one is fully adjustable, and then your fixed shock mount is right there, so your bottom compresses up, as you can see. So that was completely boxed in. There's the motor mounts, and those are just a universal rubber mount you can buy and bolt to the motor and then just weld them in where they line up. So as you can see, those are the motor mounts. There's the motor mount on the left side with your steering shaft and your collar bolted down. One thing I do love to brag about as well, this whole underside of this truck was 100% TIG welded. And the only reason I did that because at the time I did not have a TIG welder. Or I'm sorry, I did not have a MIG welder. And this thing has tons of leaks in it. I need to change this pan, or the pan gasket. I think it's leaking like crazy. But I'll show you the cross member I made. Right here you can see this cross member. It's a rubber mounted transmission mount. This cross member, I built this from scratch, and then I made it to where it bolts up to the frame, 4 bolts, and I threaded this 1/4 inch boxing plate right here. So you just unthread these mounting bolts. There's 4 of them, and then I gusseted it up right here. Let me clean this off, and like I said, this is all TIG welded. Custom drive shaft was made. It looks like the maybe rear tail shaft seal is leaking, slinging some stuff over there in the exhaust. But yeah, if you guys see anything I don't, like I said, this was the first frame off truck that I've built, so anything y'all see, leave in the comments. I'm always open for suggestions from pros. The rear right here, I used a Ford 8.8 axle. It was out of a Mustang GT, I believe like a 2000 I found or something. And I think it has a 3, like a high 3 gearing in it. When I popped, because I pulled the rear diff cover off and make sure everything was clean and checked out good before I put it in. But yeah, I think it's like a high 3s gearing, and plenty for this truck. As you can see, it has the 4-link, which is a tubular, or not a tubular, but a triangulated style. So we have the one lower traction bar coming to the rear, which has your shock mount welded to the axle, which is fully adjustable. And then we have the top mount, which is right here on your stock Mustang style bearing. And so right here you can see this goes through like it used to go through a rubber bearing, but I actually replaced them with these metal kind of movable ball bearings in there. And then I made these upper mounts, and so I did kind of like a webbed opening so they can clamp, and these go to the frame as well. And right here you can see the battery cables, because I have a rear mount battery. They go inside the frame, run all the way back. Your exhaust is right here. It actually dumps right behind the rear axle, right next to the tire, kind of hidden. And yeah, you can see everything is boxed in on the rear as well. I had to make all the brake lines. So this is a universal battery holder box, and then I just made these angle iron hangers from the bottom of this frame. This is all boxed in, connected side to side. So when I box the rear end, I put my cross member for my shock hangers right here, and these just hang down. These are also fully adjustable with height and the dampeners. And then you can see right here where the exhaust dumps out. And then I added 3 of these cross members, because I was going to put, or I still would like to, but I was going to add a trailer hitch to the back of this truck so we can pull motorcycles and stuff with it. So this is 1/4 inch wall, I believe 2x3 square tubing, and there's 1, 2, and then this is a 2x2, I believe, 1/4 inch wall. So this thing is definitely tight. And so that is the rear end, and that completes the undercarriage. Alright, that sums up the Papa OG truck tour. I was going to fire it up, but of course, with my luck, I put it on the ground and the battery's dead. So I got to put it on the charger. It was actually been in the air for like 2 months on the lift, waiting for me to work on it, so the battery got a little cold. But thank y'all for watching. This is something I'm very proud of, and definitely, I guess, wanted to brag a little bit in this video and show you guys the work that I did, you know, because that is probably the biggest automotive project that I've done to this date. And it's definitely close to my heart because it was something I was able to, you know, pay it forward with my father and, you know, hand him the keys when it was done and kind of do it all for him. So I was thankful to be able to have that ability and skill to do that for him. But with that being said, if you guys want to see a clip of it running, there's one right here. Again, thank you guys for watching. As always, we'll see you on the next one.